Oh, welcome back. I'm excited to be before you to talk about how to integrate Savvas Realize and Google Classroom. Together, Savvas and Google make a great pairing, but there are some details that you really have to pay attention to in terms of creating assignments in Google Classroom. So we're going to start with going to Savvas Realize. So I've opened a new tab and I'm going to type in Savvas Realize. And when you type it in, Google's going to give you a couple different websites you can go to. If you could find savvasrealize.com, click there. That is the one you want to use. Once you click on sign in, of course, you're going to use your username and password provided by Savvas, and then go ahead and click on sign in. Once you're signed in, it's going to take you to where your classes are located. I know Mr. Beam talked a little about adding classes. If, for example, you are missing a program that you need, for example, if you teach first grade, you will need Reading Street, Common Core Grade 1. However, you will also need Envision Math. If you're missing a program, the easy way to add a program is by clicking on the little person icon and going to Settings. Once you get into the settings, you'll see your personal information here. Go over to My Programs, and here you can check the additional resources that you need. And so I'm going to click on Envision Math since I'm talking about first grade. And I'm going to click on Save, and that will add that program now to your list of programs. So now I'll see I have Reading Street, Common Core, and then I also have Envision Math for grade 1. Thinking it may just take a moment for it to add. There it goes. Math for Envision grade 1. Perfect. So moving right along. Once you get logged in, I just wanted to show you how to add a program in case you were missing a program from when you first set up your Savvas Realize. So once you get in, of course, you're going to go to your book, which of course today I am talking about Reading Street. I'll be using grade 1 as a sample. However, all the grade levels are set up exactly the same way. When you open the table of contents, as you learned in the Savvas training, you'll have your online teachers edition, baseline group test, and the units pertaining to that grade level. For grade 1, we're going to start with Unit R, My World, which is a remedial unit to catch students up from the kindergarten grade level. When you open the unit, again, you'll see the online teachers edition, and then you'll see a big question, which is the question that the entire unit will focus on. And how many weeks are in the unit will depend on each unit. So for this particular unit, which is Unit R, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks in the unit, and then also the assessment pieces, which fall in kind of like a week 7, if you will. So this big question video and journal is the overview for all of these weeks. Okay. So again, looking at Reading Core, when you're drilling in, it's going to be unit, week, and then day. So I jump back to the beginning. Unit R, week 1, and then day 1, which is where I would start my instruction. Unit, week, and day. And so I'm going to go back again and just show that one more time, because that's how everything is going to go. Unit R, week 1, and then day 1. What I will encourage everyone to do is make sure that your class gets an understanding of the big question, because that is something you're going to keep coming back to the entire unit and through every week. And so I actually would start my instruction from the big question video. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the big question video. Of course, this is something you can share right along with your class on Zoom. So you would just open up your Realize, and here you are, first day of instruction. After those 2 weeks, of course, and we're jumping right into our big question video. So what is all around me? We're going to watch the video, and then you may or may not say use a journal to respond, of course, right?
And furniture,
Here we go.
or and principles. You will learn about.
And so here brings you here, and you can kind of have some conversation about different things that are around you. So in this big concept video, it talked about 5 different things. It talked about things around the house. It talked about things around the school, things around your neighborhood, things around your when you're out with your friends. What do you see? And so just understanding that these topics you will continue to visit throughout this entire unit R, which is again 6 weeks. So a great piece that you can add into your daily course rollout, and I'm going to roll on over to my daily course rollout, is a concept map. So in Savvas, Realize, or in Reading Street, they always talk about creating concept maps for your students so that you can continue to bring them back to the concepts that are happening. So, of course, there are a couple things going on my computer. I have Savvas Realize open, I'll have Google Classroom open, and I'll also have my daily course rollout open if that is something you feel that you can use that will help with you having pieces for the students. Okay, so here I am, and I'm talking to my students. I'm going to come back to this concept map, and then I can add in information here for the concept map. So I'm going to go back to Realize. You know, I'm kind of jumping around, but I need you guys to kind of get the hang of, in the moment, this is kind of what it would look like. Okay, so I'm going to exit my big question. We've had some conversation around it. We're in week 1 SAM, and I'm going to jump right into day 1. So when you get into day 1, you're going to basically see whatever the recommendation is in terms of how they set it up. What you'll see in the beginning is always going to be your student edition, your teacher's edition, and then you'll see the readers and writers notebook and the let's practice it. Where you actually want to start is where it says getting ready to read, and then depending on what day you're on will determine what is shown here. So right now I see get ready to read. I see my concept, talk, video, and journal. Now this is not the same as the one just shown previously, because remember the one I just showed was the one for the entire unit. So now we're drilling down into our day. And so now this concept talk video is going to focus on things around me, but it's going to focus more specifically into this week 1 about SAM and what we're going to be learning about. Okay, so I would say if you had to narrow down what you're teaching, narrowing down what you're teaching, which is huge with Reading Street, which is why it's really taking me so long to put this video out, because I really wanted to give you guys a way to drill into what's important to teach. Okay, so before I hit the concept talk video, I'm actually going to jump into the teacher's edition. Okay, so I'm going to jump into the teacher's edition. I'm going to go to week 1 SAM, and I'm going to jump to day 1 because I think it's easier to kind of drill down in a day as opposed to the week. Let me get it open. So I'm going to go to the online teacher's edition. It's going to ask you to open a new window, which of course, if I were instructing, I would have prepared already for what my students will be seeing tomorrow. So here I am in day 1. Because I was in day 1 in Savvas, when I open up my teacher's edition, it's going to automatically put me in that place, which is great. Now you don't have to flip forward and find what you're looking for. So what is my focus? These are your focus things over here. Now, will you get to every single one of these things? it is not likely. However, Savvas does allow you to get to most of these things just in the digital resources that they provide. Okay, so content knowledge we'll get to, the phonemic awareness we'll get to, phonics we'll get to, text-based comprehension we'll get to, conventions not in an active digital resource that they be given. They do have a digital resource, and I will go into that, but it's just not as active as some of the other things right in the front. The handwriting piece, of course, only if students, if you were able to print it out. So students who are face to face, you may be able to print this out and let students write. Versus the people who are virtual, it may be beneficial just to have them write on a sheet of paper. You know, the writing nouns and sentences, not likely you'll get to every single time, okay? And the listening and speaking is very important. So I would urge that if you had to pick, I would do the oral vocabulary, the phonemic awareness, phonics, text-based, and then definitely the listening and speaking, because that's something that our students don't often get a chance to do, if you will, on a regular basis. It's kind of like we're listening and speaking all the time, but we're not doing it with intention. Okay, and that is a piece that is tested in third grade on the state assessment. Okay, so now I'm going to jump back to Savvas Realize. I'm going to go to exit. I left my teacher's edition open because I will be referring back to it. So here we are, concept talk video, and I'm having a concept talk with my students. I'm playing the video. Okay, well, let's talk about what's around us at home specifically. What is around us at home?
Everyone has a tidy is
Okay. And so at the end of the video, when it talks about the journal, they do actually have an option to respond here. And when you assign it to students, either through Google Classroom, through Google Classroom, let me just say that. When you assign it through Google Classroom, they can respond. Depending on the grade level, of course, maybe or maybe not. So maybe 3, 4, 5, the expectation may be for the students to respond. K1, 2, the expectation may be just, you having that conversation, that verbal conversation. The nice thing is, once the students have responded, and I'm just going to exit out of here, or while you're having that conversation, I'm going to jump back to a daily rollout, because now I can add some details into my concept map that's going to follow us for the next 6 weeks. So what are some things that they talked about we see at home? Oh, a couch. Okay. What was another thing? Oh, you see your sister in the house. Okay. So maybe siblings. What are some other things they talked about? Oh, the kitchen. Okay, great job, guys. So remember, we're talking about our world and what makes our world. And so we're going to come back to this when we talk about it again. And that way we can discuss more things that are in our world and how they affect us. And so there you go. Using your daily course rollout, adding on this piece in your PowerPoint, and all the while, getting through the pieces that you need to get through for Reading Street with that concept map piece. But now it's a digital piece as opposed to writing it. So how do you make the concept map in PowerPoint? You would go to Insert, New Slide, and I would pick a title and content slide and go to Add Slide. Once you choose that, you'll see there's some icons here, and it actually used to pop up which icons meant what, but don't worry, if it's the wrong thing, like that says insert table, just hit cancel. Like, it's like really no worries if you hit the wrong thing, okay? But to make that chart, you can click right here in the middle, and there you'll see it automatically populates and gives you how many bullets you think you should have. If you need less, you can just delete them, and you can type your title here. And then when you need to add information or make sub um, information, if you will, you can hit enter and then hit tab, and that'll give you uh, your subtitle. Now, there are also ways, of course, to add more boxes, and you can do a little bit more with it. But for right now, this is the important piece. This is the toolbar up here if you get really fancy and want to add more boxes and things like that. Okay, I'll leave that right there. So here we are again, back to Savvas. Again, unit, week, and then day. And so now we're in our day one. We went through our concept video. So now we're going to go straight to our Sing Me book, just right in the order that it gives you. Of course, the Sing With Me book is going to cover some information. All of these things would happen, of course, after I've already read my teacher's manual in terms of what are the additional pieces students should be learning while these things are going on. So what are my focus? What is my focus? What is my focus? So here, this is great because now I don't have to
When
sing.
I am so busy, I picked it myself.
So we kind of get the idea there of the song and the big book. So again, conversation, go back. Then I'm going to go right down to my spelling cards. What I love about this is if phonics is not your strength, it's going to pronounce everything for you. So you can listen first.
Mountain.
And then say, if you need to. Of course, this one is easy because this is mountain, right? So practice speaking the word, hide it, so on and so forth, right? Okay, I'm going to exit that card. So there, I've done all my getting ready to read. So now I'm jumping into my read and comprehend. And I see what we're learning about is literary elements. So here I have a video that I'm going to show about literary elements and what element are we focusing on. And again, I learned here that we're focusing on character. So that's what our video will be about.
You need to know the parts of a story in order to understand animals in a story. In this story, sister and the warriors are make-believe story. When and where does the story happen?
All right, so it's going to talk about several different literary elements. And again, to your benefit, you could create a chart in PowerPoint that could show the literary elements that the students could be listening for, or just to have that discussion and that anchor chart, if you will, a digital anchor chart. PowerPoint is really, really good for just having those charts there and ready for you to continue to refer back to. And it's easy to move the slides around. So when you get to day 5, you can drop it down your anchor chart and you don't have to worry about finding it. It'll just show up right where you need it at as well. Okay, so I did the concept video, I did the Sing With Me, I did my spelling sound card, I did the envision it, literary elements. My day is over. Not really. So there are some things that I didn't cover, which is the reader writer's notebooks and the let's practice it. So before I cover these two things and how to assign it in Google Classroom, I want to jump back to the teacher's manual and just kind of look at what we just saw. So here I am. I know my day at a glance. Okay, so we didn't do the street rhymes. However, we are doing the build with oral language because we're talking about that as we were going through the video. So day 1, this is another piece that you could choose to pull out before you guys watch the video and just have some conversation about things that they're seeing before you watch the video or even after you watch the video. But again, it's great because the book is here and you can just pull it right up. So again, building oral vocabulary, which is the song. And here we would have listened to the song. And so here specifically, it tells you some words that they can be listening for, or some words to make sure that students understand that you can introduce them to make sure that you're building their vocabulary. So it's not just listening to the song, it's not just singing the song, but it's also building their vocabulary and them being able to identify and connect words to what they're hearing in the song. Okay, hear amazing words at work. Again, it's just depending on what grade level you are, in terms of if you can have the student open the book, or if you want to go to something and show them something specifically, or it's really, really important during digital learning that you keep the attention of the students. And if the lesson is not engaging, you can expect them not to be engaged, and they can get lost very much more easily, and distracted much more easily being outside of the classroom than when they're in the classroom. And so I would suggest just making sure that you always do those interactive parts. Keep them keep them engaged with you, and to always look ahead to determine what pieces you want to add to those interactive parts. So I'm going to move on from amazing words. And here's a nice picture. This is a nice one to engage in. So after doing the phonics piece, which was the letter M, you may want to bring them to this picture. And again, you can bring them to it here, or you can add this again to your PowerPoint. Wow, you can add this to your PowerPoint? Sure you can. So one way you could do it is clip it, but if you know how to clip, I'll say you can add it to your PowerPoint. If you don't worry about it. It's easy just to bring it here. And so one thing everybody should know how to do is make their screen larger or smaller. And so the easiest way to do it is hold down Control and hit the plus button. And I think you guys might be seeing, and that makes it bigger, or Control and minus to make it smaller. So here it says, find 5 things that begin with the sound. Say the beginning sound. And so me and the students, we could say the beginning sound. And then I can kind of just scroll through and say, well, what is it that we see in this room? Is there anything that starts with an in this room? Dog? No, not dog. Is there anything on the wall? Oh, map. Map. Great. That's a great example. Let's move over to the bedroom. What about over here? Do we see something over here? And so again, this is a really, really great engaging piece for the students. So I would consider using the pictures when appropriate, right? So we've already done the phonics. Isn't that great? We've already done that. Here you'll see we have a worksheet that they're supposed to do. Of course, if you're in person, maybe you print the worksheet out. If the students are digital, it may be something that you want to do on a board, okay? So, and I'll actually go back and show where these worksheets are, because a couple of them will appear. But I just kind of wanted to jump through today so you could see how much you had actually gotten through just by hitting those pieces. So this one talks about modeling a close read to focus on that character element. And so this will be a nice time to maybe display that literary elements chart that you created. And it might look something like this. And we may actually be able to find this exact one. Readers and Writers Notebook, page 2. Okay. And here you would actually read the story while they think about what character is. Okay. So, So this is the Think Aloud piece. I think Think Alouds are really, really good to get students engaged in thinking about what's about to happen. But again, it's just depending on the grade level you're teaching and things of that sort in this type of environment. So again, that listening and speaking though is key. So while you were displaying the literary elements so that they can be looking at what they're supposed to be listening for, character, or setting, okay, Okay, here we go. And our focus this week, day, of course, is character. So, teacher read aloud. A tidy room. Hannah, you must clean your room, said Mom one Saturday morning. And so, while you're reading, they're listening. You don't actually have to display this text to them. You could just have showing your PowerPoint slide with that anchor chart, or you can just have your book, your textbook, and reading from your textbook. Just trying to give you guys some ideas of how this can work. So here we are, and we're almost through day one. Then we're getting to conventions and handwriting, which of course is always the last piece. And so we see how much we covered just in going through those few elements that I showed you in day one, those few engagement elements. And so it's really going to take you as the teacher to tie in the other components that tie to those engagement components to keep the students engaged and also hit the points that you want to hit. Do you have to hit every single point every day? Absolutely not. But if you could get those engaging pieces in, have that conversation with them, build their vocabulary, build their speaking and listening, and their fluency, that would be outstanding. So I'm going to jump out of the teacher's manual and go back to Savvas Realize, because now here's the big question. What do we assign? What? What? What just happened? Okay, just kidding, guys. Look for part two for the what and how do we assign in Google Classroom.